All right, welcome. Today, we're going to break down one of the most critical tasks in the entire business analysis body of knowledge, the Babok Gantt Guide. We're going to really get into the people side of any project by looking at task 3.2, plan stakeholder engagement.
So let's start with a big one, a question that I think everyone in our field has asked themselves at some point. Why is it that so many projects, even the ones with brilliant technical plans, just fall flat?
The tech side could be absolutely perfect, but more often than not, the answer, it lies with people. Things like mismanaged expectations, really poor communication, or just a lack of buy-in. These are the true project killers.
And that brings us right to what we can call the stakeholder challenge. It's really the art and science of getting everybody on the same page, engaged, and pulling in the same direction. It's tough.
So how do the pros handle this? Well, it's not with guesswork or just hoping for the best. Nope. They use a structured, thought-out plan to navigate all that human complexity. And that's where the BBOK guide comes in. It literally gives us the blueprint for this. So let's break down its official framework for building a really powerful stakeholder engagement plan. Okay, here it is, the official purpose of Task 3.2. See, it's not just about chatting with people, it's about planning a whole approach for establishing and maintaining effective working relationships. Now, for anyone studying for the CBAP exam, those keywords are gold: establishing and maintaining. It signals that this is a continuous process, not just a one-time thing you do at the start.
So how does this actually work? Just think of it like a machine. You start with two key inputs. First, the business needs, the actual problem you're trying to solve. And second, your overall business analysis approach. You feed those into the process, and what comes out is one single crucial output: the stakeholder engagement approach.
We can actually simplify that flow into three really clear steps. Step 1, gather your inputs. Step 2, perform your analysis. This is the brain work. And step 3, create your output, which is the plan itself. Simple, right? It's methodical, it's repeatable, and it really works.
All right, now we get to the core of this whole task, the analysis. This is where you go from just having a list of names to truly, deeply understanding the human landscape of your initiative. The Babok Guide gives us 4 key areas to focus our analysis on. To really get the full picture, you have to understand each stakeholder's role, their attitude toward the project, their formal authority, and, maybe most importantly, their informal influence. Each one is a totally different piece of the puzzle. Let's get a little more specific. For roles, you're figuring out exactly how they'll contribute. For attitudes, you're trying to figure out, are they a champion for this change, or are they a potential roadblock? For decision-making authority, you have to know who gets the final say. And for level of power or influence, this one's critical. You're identifying the people who can sway opinions, even if they don't have a big fancy title.
Okay, so once you've done all that analysis, then you can start planning. And this plan really covers 2 different, though related, things: collaboration and communication. And it is so important to understand that they are not the same thing.
And this slide just nails the difference perfectly. Collaboration is a two-way street. It's about working with people, creating something together, like in a workshop. Communication, on the other hand, is often a one-way broadcast. It's about informing people, like sending out a weekly status report. A great plan has to account for both.
So for your collaboration plan, you gotta get practical. You need to ask, when are we meeting and how often? Is this gonna be face-to-face or virtual? What tools, like wikis or shared boards, are we gonna use? And here's the big one: what do your stakeholders actually prefer? Tailoring your approach is everything if you want to keep them engaged.
And for the communication plan, the questions are just as vital. What info are you sharing? Who is the audience for that info? How often do they need to hear from you? And what's the right level of detail and formality? The CEO does not need the same super detailed email that the development team gets. Okay, so you know what you need to analyze, and you know what you need to plan, but how do you actually do it? Well, the Babok Guide suggests a whole range of techniques. Think of it as your BA toolkit. Now, there are a ton of techniques, but let's zoom in on 2 of the most popular and, honestly, incredibly useful ones to bring all this theory to life: the RACI matrix and personas. So this is a racy matrix, and trust me, this simple little chart can prevent a world of confusion. For any task, it spells out who is responsible for doing the work, who is accountable and has the final say, who needs to be consulted for their input, and who just needs to be kept informed. What's the result? No more confusion, and no more guessing who really needs to be in that meeting. Next up, we have personas. This is such a brilliant technique for building empathy. Instead of talking about some abstract user, you create a fictional character. You give them a name, a job, goals, and frustrations. It helps the entire team design solutions for a real person, not just for a dry list of requirements. So you've done your analysis, you've planned out your interactions, and you've picked your tools. Now it's time to put it all together into the final output, the stakeholder engagement approach. And let me be really clear about this. This is not just another document to be created and then filed away to collect dust. No way. This is your master plan for navigating the human side of your project. It's your roadmap for making sure everyone is on board and contributing effectively.
So what actually goes into this master plan? Well, it's a complete stakeholder list, your deep analysis of their characteristics, a clear breakdown of roles and responsibilities, like that racy chart we saw, and of course, your detailed plans for both collaboration and communication. It's the whole shebang.
If there's just one thing you take away from all this, let it be this. A stakeholder who feels ignored or misunderstood is a massive project risk. But a stakeholder who is properly and effectively engaged, they become one of your project's greatest assets. This process is how you make that magic happen.
So I'll leave you with a question to think about for your own work. Is your project stakeholder engagement plan just a list of names you check off? Or is it a robust strategic plan that's actually designed to drive success? Something to think about.